I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah.
But, come on, it's necessary.
But then, are we actually working that hard? Are people working harder out there?
You're asking a risky question here. Are you asking if we're working hard or productive?
Oh, good question.
It's popped up in my mind recently. I was wondering how productive I actually am because I think, was it yesterday? Maybe yesterday? I think I only got like 2 things done. Very critical. Huge things.
Oh, so you were measuring it on number of things you've done.
Exactly. And I think we would have been in some hot water if they weren't done.
Yeah.
But it's still 2 things, dude.
You know what it is? Maybe productivity is 2 things that only you could do, right? So I could do 50 things, right, in a day, but I'm pretty sure I could have, especially in management, you could have delegated or given it to people that could have done a better job.
Yeah.
So that's not really productive, but productivity of measuring 2 things or 50 things that you could only do. That's good.
I haven't read the 4-Hour Workweek, but I feel like that's some real Tim Ferriss stuff right there. Yeah. Have you read it? I feel like
I have not. No, I've started to listen to Tim Ferriss though.
Have you?
His podcast. Yeah. He's had some good guests recently.
He had because I didn't realize how big a deal he was. My brother recommended Tim Ferriss when I was in like high school because I was struggling to keep up. And yeah, he's had like Bill Burr on there, who's a comedian I admire a lot. That might be a controversial statement right now, but he's had and that's what kind of got him on my radar. I've known about the 4-Hour Workweek for ages, but. I think he talks about the grid of important, urgent, not urgent, important, and breaking it down into you should be delegating everything that's not important, not urgent. Sorry, you should scrap that.
Yeah.
The urgent but not important you should delegate, and it's a very smart system of working.
It's very much easier said than done, but definitely as long as we're working in the right direction, I can't see an issue with that. And I think we are. We're taking a few processes that should automate things. Maybe we could do more, but yeah.
The thing I need to come to terms with though is it's not the tool. You know, I've known this for a while, but I'm starting to see it because I've been bouncing around and I keep coming back to to-do, the weirdly spelled to-do list.
To-do.
I tried like Monday.com and for my personal stuff, I think I'm big on using Monday.com in the business. I'm working on some stuff that I'm really excited about, but for me personally, that's not the way I would do things. I need the I don't need customization. That's why I have an iPhone over an Android.
Yeah.
I just need it to, like, you're doing it my way.
When it does it, it needs to work well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Hi there, welcome to Director's Debrief episode 31.
Boom.
I
skipped a few in between, but I'm back.
You're back? Oh,
yeah.
You actually haven't been in...
No, I think last time we were in the 20s. Late 20s.
Yeah. No, I mean... No.
Has there been 1 or 2?
How many of you? You've only missed 1.
Oh, it feels like a lot.
We've missed you.
Yeah.
The camera's missed you. The audience has missed you. But yeah, I had the pleasure of going down to London to see Sam Winsbury.
Okay.
And interviewing him for the last episode. Have you watched that yet?
I have not. I've seen all the reels, everything about
it.
Okay,
cool.
So there's a lot of golden nuggets that I've seen, but I think there's more in the epised.
I mean, you've known him a while now as well, so I think watching it would be a fact because you've known him. How well do you know him?
How well do I know him?
Yeah.
I mean, well enough. Never met the guy. Had a lot of conversations with him.
Yeah.
Met him sometime post-pandemic-ish time.
Yeah.
He was very early on in his business. He added me on LinkedIn, but for the first time, I messaged him.
Yeah.
Because I liked what he did. I liked what I saw.
That's awesome.
And he's a great guy, for what I've seen anyway. I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
The episode will back
really
that up.
Nice guy.
And it feels to me like he has had some amazing experience in actually not a short period of time. He's been going quite a while now.
Yeah.
But in a period of time, he's had some amazing experience. And that's what you don't get enough of in the entrepreneurial LinkedIn post world.
Yeah.
You know, you think that everyone who started a business during the pandemic or post is smashing it.
Yeah.
That's what we're led to believe. And I mean, the guy's been up, down, around the world, whatever he's done. And to be fair, I draw inspiration from him as well, from what the small amount of stuff that I saw.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend watching that episode because he kind of really gets into it and into his business. And Yeah, because I've known him for a while now. Again through Zoom, and just going there and meeting him in person. Obviously, you get to you meet another layer to a person.
Yeah.
But actually, just having the platform of like a podcast. That's why I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
You get to just dive deeper and deeper into different sections of sort of what he went through setting up his business. And I really, really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll take a deep dive. But before we get going, I wanted to ask you a question before we delve down our route.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the business, how do you think? I should have phrased this. Should have done this off camera before I came in. But do you see yourself? You've been in the business what now? How long? 3 years.
3 years as part of WP. 4 if you include the subsidiary I worked for.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Okay. So a fair amount of time in a startup
coming up to 4 years,
business.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to see is, certainly in the last 12 months, I mean, you progressed tremendously, and I can't even me saying you progressed is not doing it justice because you've been doing it in your own right. You know, I've seen it on the sidelines, but what do you think's changed the most for you? Certainly in the last 12 months, in the way you approach business or you approach startups. Has anything changed at all?
Approach business.
Yeah.
This business or other businesses?
This business.
Ooh.
A very open question. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and a big one, but I think I have an answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think it's an evolution. I think you've asked me this before, and I think I have an evolution of that answer, where I think I talked about how before it was the biggest evolution for me at that point was the responsibility being moved on to myself.
Okay.
Right? So it was essentially as I grew within the business, and I think this conversation was when I became a director.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me what like the biggest change was, and it was that feeling of you, the managing director or a senior member of staff, being responsible for me. That kind of goes away when you're a director, and you're pretty much responsible for yourself. And I think the biggest difference more recently has been the confidence to act on my intuition. So that responsibility comes as quite a big weight of I want to act in the best interest of the business. I don't want to do X. I don't want to harm, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But recently, I think when speaking to clients by myself or going into meetings and leading meetings, it's kind of I feel like for a long time I almost looked to you for the answer, and not sort of no, sorry, that's wrong. Not look to you for the answer.
Check the answer,
and also. Ash will pick up the piece. Sorry, Ash will pick up the pieces if something goes wrong here. When that went away, I think that was a bit nerve wracking, and if looking back now, I haven't actually felt those nerves in a while.
Yeah.
I think back to last week on Thursday, I had quite a big client meeting. Didn't necessarily run anything by you. You were in the meeting, but you were responsible for a section of it, which I handed over, and then I went back. But I think that was a meeting that I ran start to finish where. Yeah, it was just directly in front of the client. A lot of questions, a lot of it was quite intense, and I loved it. I loved every step of it. Yeah, and I loved every step of it. I realized why I love working with this client is because we want to be the best. And they make damn well sure that we're the best.
Yeah, right. They hold us to that standard. Yeah.
Can I flip the question back on you?
Yeah, sure.
I
had a bit more to go with.
Okay, go ahead.
No. So on that part, really, it makes perfect sense. And the reason I asked that is because in your quality of work, I think you've had that for a long time. Yeah, personally, I think your quality, your standard, you've set the bar high so far for everything I've seen anyway. The emails I'm not CC'd into, I can't obviously comment for. Yeah. But Sam started doing that to me, by the way. I'm not offended. He's having his side conversations. Sure. No, I'm genuinely not offended. Actually makes me really happy.
That's a relief.
But what I noticed is, that I guess I didn't ask my original question in the right way, but I was getting to that you seem to have more confidence behind what you're doing. And I really do even I draw inspiration from it. When I was in that meeting, I was like, this is incredible. He really is, all these questions are coming to him left, right, and center, some that he doesn't actually know the answer to, but the way you're approaching it with confidence meant everything to the client and everyone else in that meeting. So that was really good. But it's interesting, and I guess you've answered that in the way you said that your confidence has come from you realizing the responsibility lies with you. Yeah. So it's like it's become less of, I remember you used to get a lot of things checked by me, and part of that could be my micromanagement coming in there as well, which I'll be open to now and then. I like to check things. But from you taking that direction and going ahead with it, I think you run things by me. I'm happy. If you want to, you don't. Yeah. It's given me more confidence that you...
Oh, really?
Yeah, that you... you're ready to... You're basically, when you took that original client on... I had this could work. He might still need to run everything by me, but by you doing things and handling emails by yourself, I'm no longer really checking them. There's that confidence that no, he's fully in this and he feels responsibility for his actions and so on. So that's interesting.
Do you think you micromanage?
I don't. I like to think I don't.
I was a little bit surprised when you said that.
No, but now and then I feel that I delve into that a little bit. Maybe it's when there's a project that really means a lot to me, or it's something very new, and I really want to make sure that every little thing is perfect. I wouldn't call myself a micromanager. Maybe that's not doing. Maybe that's doing my disjustice. But no, sometimes I feel that am I veering into that because I just get overly passionate about certain things in certain areas. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I want to pull that question back on you. How long have you? I mean, you were there since the very start. That was 2014?
2015, yeah.
2015, 5 plus 7 years.
Yeah.
You've been in this game 7 years. Obviously, you've fully devoted yourself straight after uni, 2016. So 6 years, you've kind of...
it will be, 26 years on the 23rd of July.
Oh, really?
It's coming up, yeah.
Shit, that's another hint drop, like his birthday.
I don't know. I don't think 66 years is that. I mean, we've missed a few of Sam's anniversaries, so...
that's fine. So, yeah, how do you think you've evolved in the last 6 years?
How do I think I've evolved?
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
I think it's not just been... As you said it in your recent client report, it's not a linear journey. It's not just been slowly got more confident, slowly had the guts. I've had my drawbacks. So I'd say maybe about, when I say drawbacks, things that have pulled me back a little as I've progressed. So I'd say in certain moments, my knowledge of this game, what we're involved in, has continuously improved. I've been put in my place in certain points where I've realized that, okay, I need to brush up on my knowledge and make sure I'm continuously in my A game. Because we do get complacent, when we are the so-called best in our field and you go into meetings and you're very knowledgeable, you start to get complacent on your knowledge, and it takes other moments where competitors may progress further, clients may ask you questions that you're unaware of to put you in your place, to make sure you keep on top of your knowledge. That's why we continuously learn new things and try and beat on. So from a knowledge point of view, there's been continuous progression. Going on the point that we just discussed of confidence, that's actually something I continuously work on. I go through those motions, and I was actually reading online about how this is a very natural course of action, that you could be the most confident guy in a meeting and, I trust everything I'm saying. But then a few little drawbacks, they may not even be a particular moment, but a few things that make you doubt what you're saying can knock your confidence.
And that's normal?
It's absolutely normal.
Okay.
But it's important to realize it and realize how to get back to where you need to be. And if anything, if you're able to climb back up and build, you've been knocked down a little bit, maybe someone's questioned what you've done, or something that a decision you made didn't quite go your way, that can knock you, right? You will lose some confidence. It's just like a sports game where you're the most confident player and then you lose a game or lose a big match, and that can knock your confidence, put you out of form. Cricket players, football players, they all go through form, right? And goal scoring to no goals. And it's the same in business, where you are on your A game, but you've got to appreciate that you may not be all there all the time. And bringing yourself back to that in your own way, only you have your own method of doing it. I'm sure there's many how-tos on Google of what to do when you're not your confidence. Believing in yourself and realizing that at the end of the day, it's not all that serious. We take our decisions so seriously, but what's the worst that can really happen? Believing in it is good. And I think that way you actually get back to a stronger point than you were when you were Mr. Confident not so long ago. If that makes sense.
That's crazy. The comparison to the sport, like a sports person's slump. That's great. I've never considered it like that, but it is absolutely comparable. Yeah. That's crazy.
And if anything, if you're aware of it and self-aware of that, when you are in that slump, you appreciate it and you're like, okay, this is temporary. Not I've lost my edge. I'm no longer who I was.
Yeah.
And you kind of slump down. And that happens in all aspects of your life. It could be your social life, for example. Like, a year ago, I was Mr. Social Butterfly. I was meeting my friends, everyone. Whereas now, I'm not hanging out with everyone. I'm sitting in my room and just watching TV or something. You go through different motions. Everything is cyclical. And I think if I were to summarize one of the most recent lessons I've learned going through my own personal journey and the business journey is the cyclical thing. Even with money and the way business is, money comes and goes. Good times come, good times go. But as long as you're aware of it, then it'll feel less like a slump and more like a climb.
Have you been through a slump and then found yourself back on the incline? Well, of course you have. We're still sat here today. But when you've done that, has there been anything that you've thought that has like decompressed you like bus brakes, where like you think of something or you contextualize something in a particular way and you're just like, right, okay, everything's going to be fine now. Not everything. But,
100%.
What's an example of a thought like that? I'm going to try and think of one myself because...
I mean, all sorts. A certain thing that's gone wrong with. I'm struggling with an example off the top of my head. But what you essentially mean is like a kind of a light bulb moment where you're like, "That's why."
I have one.
Okay,
if I may.
Mm-hmm.
It was that shit hasn't happened yet. It's this crazy thing where I got so caught up in worrying about something that might happen as a result of my decisions in the business. I was just overthinking this thing. I was like, this could lead to X, Y, Z. How am I going to deal with X, Y, and Z? Well, if that happens, I don't know. I was like, X, Y, and Z hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was trying to plan for the worst case scenario. I didn't even know what scenario I was in. That's what really brought me peace. I was like, Sam, it hasn't even happened yet.
Yep. Yeah, that's a huge one where... I don't know, as humans, we have such great imaginations where we'll literally, and that happens in personal lives or whatever, where you're here, B happens, and you're already thinking about X, Y, and Z. And it's like, whoa, we're way far from that. It's not a bad thing. It's obviously, and if we go to human intuition, it probably comes from survival of the fittest. How can I make sure that I will survive in all aspects? But come on, we're not fighting to survive here. We're running a business or doing whatever we're doing. But on that part as well, I just had a point that's just dropped out of my mind. But it's basically realizing. So going back to the whole linear formation, I used to get really annoyed because I'm like, a year ago Ash would have been smashing this deal, whereas now I'm having to kind of do this or do that. And then I start to draw the positives of what's happened and where I am now compared to where I was a year ago. Okay, I may be looking at, Ash of a year ago would have smashed this presentation. Yeah. Yes, but he probably wouldn't have put in as much preparation. He wouldn't have had his team put together X, Y, and Z to help him for this. I mean, I'm talking about this now because I have a presentation on Thursday. But there's a lot of aspects where I was doubtful of what I could do. But then on the same token, there's a lot of things that the old Ash would have skimmed over and really thought, no one's going to really ask that. No one's going to really care about that. Yeah. Whereas now I feel like I'm putting in due diligence. So the linear thing is really wrong because there's so many variables at play.
I thought you were about to contradict yourself from a previous episode. I don't know why it sprang to my mind, but you didn't actually. You stayed consistent, which I respect.
Okay, interesting.
I asked you. We were talking about fitness once, and we were talking about burpees. Ram actually turned this into a reel, and I think I was telling you about my frustrations of getting to a level of fitness, taking a break, and when I go back to working out, I'm so far below that level of fitness. Yeah, and when I mentioned that, you told me you drew on the positive of, well, it'll be easier to get back to that level of fitness. I think you used the example of burpees, right? And I thought you were about to go, and then I spiral, and you went, no, and then I draw the positives again. So just thought I'd point that out to you. It's interesting. Your mentality in these scenarios, different fields, your fitness versus your entrepreneurial journey, have the same outlook, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and if we really want to draw on the burpees example, I think I am very consistent with that mentality in business because... Okay, let's say you have good times in business and you have bad times. Yeah. You need the good times to break through and realize how many burpees you can actually do. You need to realize that, okay, if I put in the work, I'm going to be able to hit 10, 20, 30, whatever you may do. I can't do 30, 20, 20 in one go.
You could do 30.
Yeah, I probably could do 30.
Fuck out of here. You could do 30 burpees.
But no, what I'm suggesting there is that, look, it breaks that threshold. And even if next time you want to hit a high threshold, it's a mental block that's gone or reduced. So going to business, you need the good times, not just to feel good, but you need it to realize that next time when you're on that climb from a slump, say the world economy goes through a struggle and you're trying to rebuild and you're going through stuff and nothing's really happening, but it takes time. And you can draw from past experience and you can say, actually, no, well, I put in this work and I'll do it. It's not guaranteed, but I've seen this before. I've seen a similar story and I know how it's going to pan out. And it gives you that confidence again. To go through. So similar to the exercise thing.
Yeah, similar to actually what Jamie said on the podcast, where he said he's got more confidence within himself that he knows how to figure something out, right? He draws on past experiences, not because the experience is relevant, not because you can do burpees means you can offer a great presentation, but the fact that you could figure out how to get to that level of burpees means you can figure out how to develop that level of that level of presentation. I thought that's something that stuck with me for a long time. When I get stuck, I'm like, my past experience doesn't mean I can figure this out. It doesn't mean that I can do this because I could do that. It's because I could figure that out. It means I can figure this out. It was a very interesting distinction for me when he said that. And that sort of really, really stuck with me.
So going back to our point of view of when we were talking about, A happens, then B happens, and then you're thinking of X, Y, and Z. You've escalated. Obviously, you find a way to calm yourself. What's your go-to method?
Okay. Hold on to that thought. That, my friend, is a good and difficult question. What's my go-to method to go back? I really struggle with that. I really genuinely struggle with that. Not necessarily with that, but there's certain things I do. If I go down a certain rabbit hole, I struggle to come out of them. And the thing that brings me peace is knowing that I always come out of them. So again, very similar to Jamie's logic, very similar to yours. But it's just the appreciation of what I need right now is time. So if it's something really, like if I'm really far down a rabbit hole, it is just time, and I'm fully aware of that, right? I know that in a week, it's not going to matter as much as it does today. In a month, I'll be over it. In 3 months, I won't even know what it is. And that's the only thing I can think of, because sometimes when I'm overthinking something, or if I get myself in a scenario like that, and we're talking big things, small things I can generally shrug off, small to medium things I can shrug off, bigger things that really cause me to worry or overthink things, time. And at one point I'm like, well, let's put myself in the best scenario to get out of this. And that means taking care of myself, getting enough sleep, yoga. And I'll be honest, they don't move the needle. They work, right? Whilst for let's say you do a 40-minute yoga ritual, then during that, for those 40 minutes, you're right, you're at peace. You don't think about that thing. You need to focus on the yoga. If you get really good sleep, then you're fine. For those 8 hours, you don't think about it. But I've never really woken up and felt, problem gone. I've woken up and gone, problem halved. And then the next day, problem halved. And then you get to a point where it just doesn't matter anymore. And so every time I get in a scenario where I start to overthink and worry and really get in my head, I'm like, you know what this is. You've been here before, and you'll know in a week, you'll be all right. You'll know in a couple of hours, you'll be all right. That's my thing.
That's nice. And I guess you have to go through that whole spiral and escalation to be brought down. On that part, something that might help you, I guess you're already doing it in the method you're talking about in some way. Someone recently told me, they're a business owner, and I told you that I was speaking to them, and I was talking about problems, right? And part of me, when I first came into the business and started what we were doing, was thinking that, okay, I have these issues today. I probably had 4 things going on, 3 good, 1 bad. All right, and I thought, one day I'm going to be able to squish that bad thing and things will be good. Okay, yes, I know it's so obvious that's not the case, but in our own worlds, we think that sometimes. We think, once I've got through this, once we scale, once I'm a X million pound company, there'll be no issues, or I have someone to deal with it. Turns out, no matter how many people you employ, no matter how much you do, and this person that I was speaking to has well over 1,500 employees. They've scaled. They have a CFO, a COO, every O that you could have, a C member you could have.
So large tech company too. It's not just a company.
Large software company.
Large software company.
Employing all around the world, all sorts of people.
Notoriously mental heavy to run a business like that. It's quite intense.
Definitely. So I was speaking to him. I was really picking his brain on everything, probably asking too many questions, but he was great and really giving me a lot of feedback. And And one of the things I asked him was, look, sometimes I really do struggle with, these issues. Like an issue will just linger and linger and linger. He goes, look, Ash, I'm not going to, he was so humble considering, my issues were minimal compared to what he has to go through on a daily basis. He had his phone on the side and he goes, look, one of our IT softwares just went down 5 minutes ago and 30,000 vehicles are stranded in India at the moment because the software is down. It represents all these certain vehicles for like a delivery equivalent. And he's like, 30,000 vehicles are down at the moment because that software is down. He goes, what I try and do, and he said it in such a humble way. I don't know how he did it, but he was just like, the way to do it is to really just compartmentalize all of your problems and all of your good stuff. And again, stuff that other people have said, but when you hear it out loud from a person who's going through it, it's amazing. And he's going through an issue right there and then. He goes, that issue is being dealt with by my team. Yeah. I trust them. I will check in. Yeah. It's still on my mind. But he goes, there is another issue that's just popped up and I have another email for that. But I don't let the two intertwine. I don't let the issue of B cloud my judgment of issue A.
Right.
Because that isn't the way to deal with any problem. It's not fair on a certain issue to say, oh man, everything's going wrong. Oh, do what you want to do. So his method is really compartmentalizing your things and also the good stuff. You may be working on a really exciting project.
Yeah.
Don't let your issue kind of intertwine with that and reduce your motivation for that project you're working on. Yeah. When you work on that issue, give it everything you can. Try and fix it. Then put it away. Until you need to check on it again. But there is nothing you can do to keep thinking about it, which negatively impacts everything else that's going on in your mind and in the business.
You have helped me massively, but not in the way you think you have.
Okay. Always do that, don't I?
Yeah. But that was huge for me. And I'll explain why. And I'm just contemplating whether I want to talk about this on camera. Fuck it. So I'm in a point now where I am putting myself in very vulnerable scenarios. I'm very open to rejection. Mm-hmm. I'm approaching people for the business. I'm approaching people for the podcast. And naturally, when you put yourself in those scenarios, you get rejected a lot.
Yep.
It just happens.
Of course.
And I've worked in PPI. I've made my peace with when it comes to business and you're doing outreach, whatever you're doing, you're going to get rejected often, ignored often. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was. I'm genuinely trying to think. I think I asked for something from somebody and they just didn't get back to me.
Yeah.
And I intertwined the two. I was like, man, everybody's ignoring me nowadays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person to overthink that.
But it's really easy to
in that moment of weakness, I was just like, man, nothing's going my way.
Yeah.
And I realized they're completely separate issues. And that person eventually texted me back. It's just like, let's do this. Let's do X, Y, and Z. And we'll get it sorted. And I felt like a fool in that moment when they did actually text me back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how one thing can so easily cloud the other.
And it's crazy how much those one and two things can impact your confidence for a client meeting that you may have tomorrow that has nothing to do with you being rejected. If anything, you're on the other side of rejection where you're working with them and doing a great job or whatever you're doing. Yeah. But it can impact your confidence where you're like, I wonder what they think of me. Maybe it's the same as everyone else and so on. So I'm glad I indirectly helped you as always, giving you advice that you didn't need. But the other thing is when you're kind of compartmentalizing. Let's take your day today, for example. Have you had any issues today?
Like
work-wise?
3 or 4.
Okay. And have you had any cool stuff going on as well? Like anything innovative or something new or a nice meeting?
Yeah. I have. Yeah,
you've had a
that
nice
last
meeting?
one I had today.
Cool. Yeah, so the thing we easily do, again, it's such obvious stuff. There's about 1,000 books that have been written about this. Is we won't take the joy of that nice meeting you had at the end, which was I was eavesdropping into that meeting. If you were talking about the same one, that was a very good meeting. If anything, you're in there. That was a brilliant meeting, and the work that you put in to get to that meeting, tremendous. I've seen it on the sidelines, and maybe we aren't taking enough joy from that. It's not about overconfidence. It's not about like, let's go party because this is going on. But it's like, enjoy that moment. The other issues, the 2 and 3 issues that are going on, when you're working on them, fix on them. But
So that's very interesting because humans naturally have what's called a negativity bias.
Right.
We've talked about this before, but it's how essentially social media sucks you in.
Yeah.
And it's a big conversation now around the likes of like TikTok and stuff like that. The content there is usually negative content, but it's not very often that positive content gets a lot of views because, the people who create, I don't want to make this the anti-Instagram podcast, but these things are naturally designed to hold your attention for as long as possible.
Yeah.
In doing so, that's how they make their money, your product essentially, that they sell to advertisers. So in doing that, they know that humans will spend more time on the application if they're seeing something negative. It's the same thing as if you're driving down and you see like a bank of beautiful flowers or a car accident. 9 times out of 10 you're going to look at the car accident rather than bank of flowers.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's the same thing as what you just said of like, I've had 3 or 4 things kind of go wrong, and I've had one meeting that is setting up the sort of foundations for a project that I'm really excited to get going on.
Yeah.
And that was a successful meeting. Like we set some things up.
Yeah.
And we have a clear idea of when that's going live. I should be super excited.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm just like,
Yeah, right. That's who we are. It's crazy, and I don't think you're self giving your day justice, because I've seen about at least 2 or 3 things that have gone your way today, but you've simply pushed them aside. I do the same. Look, I sound like I'm criticizing. I do this more than anyone, which is why I'm self-aware of it.
Right.
And here comes back to the thing when you said I started six years ago of actually full-time doing this with the business.
Yes.
And where have I come? Well, the great thing is the good stuff has increased. Rather than one or 2 things going good in a day, I may have 5 or 6 or more, probably a lot more, but I just don't appreciate them. But my issue is because the issues have grown naturally as we scale, it's less than me just focusing on that one issue all day. I now have about 5 or 6 that I need to manage. That's really putting me down. And if anything, I was self-aware that was making me less confident than the person I was just 1 year ago. And I really took a deep dive into that, because I was like, what is going on? Is it the people I'm surrounding myself with? Is it whatever? And it's not. And I realized I've actually gone through this regularly, but it's just generally you need to be self-aware and build yourself stronger. Yeah.
In doing that, you've made me feel real shit about my answer.
What?
We went on a journey for your answer. You got audience participation for your answer. We went. That was an outstanding answer. And I know you have to prepare for your meeting next week, so I promised you we'd only take up half an hour of your time. So
boy, this has helped. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm very happy. The other thing is our reviews.
Yeah.
We normally read an Amazon review.
We do.
And I found a freaking gold one.
Okay.
This is a test for a COVID... this is a review for a COVID test.
Yeah.
Okay? I haven't read this to you yet. So... the headline is "Don't use if you need a positive test." So you already know this isn't going to be great. I needed some time to recoup after the Super Bowl halftime show this year. Not gonna lie, my knees don't bounce like a lowrider like they used to. It's spelled like that. I'm not making this up. I took a week off and obviously used the COVID excuse like I have multiple times in the past year. And for some reason, HR called and said I need to provide a positive COVID test to prove I was sick. No problem. I read somewhere that some dude in another country used a goat to get a positive test. It should be easy, right? Nope. Now I have a goat and no job. Thanks a lot, iHealth. You tested negative for helpfulness.
What was the product?
COVID test.
COVID test. Okay.
So this man now has a goat and no job. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this one. And to be honest with you, from scrolling through Reddit, this is the only one I can read. People write some terrible stuff.
And Amazon lets them write it.
And Amazon lets them write it. But hey, we need an open and honest platform, like the one Elon promised us we would get. But yeah,
we'll see.
All we got out of that is half the value of what Bitcoin was. Thanks, Elon.
Well, you got half? I didn't get half.
Well, I mean,
I got a quarter.
Yeah, I didn't get much. Yeah, I got. Yeah, I'm joking. But I think we'll end the episode there. Thank you very much for watching.
Brilliant
Ash,
episode. Thank you, and thanks for listening. If you've been listening, of course, don't forget to subscribe. Do what you can, whatever platform you're on: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever we are. We're on everywhere, wherever you are. And give us a like, comment, and send us an email if you want as well, or wherever you can. Just let us know what you want to hear. But see you next time.